Parliaments are one of the key state institutions in a democratic system of governance that play a critical role in promoting democracy and good governance. As democratically elected representatives of the people, parliaments have the honorable task to ensure government by the people and for the people. In the performance of their key functions of legislation, representation and oversight, parliaments can actively engage in the development and implementation of laws, policies and practices that promote democracy and good governance. You can find more on the role of parliament in governance at uneca.org. You are on to Global Parliament on NTA Parliament, reaching you from the city of Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, and I am Vivian Idekwefo. As is the tradition, the first business is the news segment with Ene Ojonuwa.
Pan-African Parliament has committed to advancing the rights of women and girls by empowering them through education. The Women Caucus of the Pan-African Parliament reached this resolution at the high-level roundtable held in N'Djamena, Republic of Chad, under the African Union's theme for 2024, Educating an African Fit for the 21st Century, Building Resilient Education Systems for Increased Access to Inclusive, Qualitative and Relevant Lifelong Learning in Africa. The high-level roundtable dialogue provided a platform for participants to exchange ideas, build partnerships, and advocate for policy and legislation developments that prioritize increased access to inclusive lifelong and quality learning as a key driver of development and gender equality in Africa. The Parliament of Ghana has passed the Affirmative Action Bill, also referred to as the Gender Equality Bill 2024. A significant feature of the act, as assented by President Nana Akufo-Addo, is the establishment of the Gender Equality Committee. This committee, which is to be chaired by the minister or their representative, will consist of representatives from various ministries, commissions, and organizations focused on gender issues. The committee is tasked with ensuring the effective implementation of the Act. The 37-page Act emphasizes gender equality in governance and decision-making across the public service, security services, judiciary, and parliament. It aims to create a balanced representation of genders in these critical areas, ensuring fair and inclusive decision-making processes. Now to ECOWAS Parliament, where the Deputy Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has hinted that the Community Parliament is deploying parliamentary diplomacy mechanisms to mitigate Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger's threats to exit the sub-regional bloc. In an interview with newsmen in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, Benjamin Kalu notes that there is no cause for alarm.
I'm talking about the three countries, brother nations who left ECOWAS. We are reaching out to them. We can't just forget them and say it doesn't matter, that they can go on their own. No, we reach out to them and say we are better off as one family. And there are mechanisms in place through what we call parliamentary diplomacy, to reach out to them and say, granted, maybe you were offended by one or two things, let us sit down again and discuss. And I'm sure it's going to work. Letters have been sent to them. Very soon, some of us will start visiting those countries to engage the heads of government there better.
Kalu, however, said that in the event of a worst-case scenario, ECOWAS would not be threatened financially.
Yeah. You see, when we are looking at our budgets and the process of making our budgets is to make sure that there is no leakages around the budget as it is. Okay? And there is prioritization on the issues we're going to spend money on. And also, there is a clear definition of the sources of revenue for the community, which is community levy happen to be one of them. There are many other sources. Okay? We want to make sure that we streamline it and know where monies are coming from. If they are not enough, we will increase, because there are so many development agencies, there are so many people who are interested in the sub-region. There are multiple ways of raising funds for the parliament as well as the community. But the first thing first, put the integrity scale to score high for the community. Put the transparency scale to score high. Put the accountability scale to score high. Once we build our credibility, there will be a lot of supporters coming from here and there.
NTA Ojonuba, reporting for Global Parliament.
Many thanks, Ene, for that update. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, is one of the many regional economic blocs set up for the purpose of regional integration, among other protocols. On the Parliamentary Conversation segment, we have a seasoned diplomat who will take us through the details. You're welcome to this segment of Global Parliament, and with us on set today is Nigeria's permanent representative to ECOWAS. He is none other than Ambassador Musa Sani Nuhu, a seasoned diplomat with more than 20 years experience. Your Excellency, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of us are not so conversant with what ECOWAS is about. We know the name ECOWAS, we have read, we have heard, but you are working in that establishment or institution. So if you would just give us a brief what ECOWAS, its objectives are all about.
Well, ECOWAS, known as the Economic Community of West African States, is a regional economic integration, an organization that was established in 1975 by the countries that are situated, or I can say located, in West Africa. It is one of the first regional economic organizations that was set up in the continent. And the main objective of ECOWAS is to foster economic integration between the countries of the sub-region. That is having harmonized system of trade and other economic activities within the West Africa sub-region.
Okay, so there are institutions that make up ECOWAS. Before we got on set, I did try to clarify if you were with the Commission, and you said the Commission is an organ. What are the other institutions?
The Economic Community of West Africa is made up of institutions and agencies. There is the ECOWAS Commission, which is like the secretariat of the organization. And that is where you have the president, the vice president, and various commissioners that are in charge of various sectoral issues pursued by the organization. As an organization that is saddled with harmonizing various policies pursued by the community, the ECOWAS Commission has departments that are in charge of various sectors, be it economic, be it agriculture, infrastructure, trade, digital and economy, and what have you. Because as an institution, virtually ECOWAS deal with all issues of human endeavor that are being used as a tool in pursuing or strengthening the economy of the region. And I must mention that beyond economic issues, ECOWAS also, by 1993, it has a revised treaty which gave the organization more powers to also pursue other regional issues that involve peace and security. So beyond economic and developmental issues, ECOWAS also deal with peace and security and political affairs matters. So apart from the ECOWAS Commission, we also have other institutions like the ECOWAS Parliament, which you are very much aware is situated here in Abuja. And we also have the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice, which is the judicial arm of the organization. Also, it has its headquarters in Abuja. We have the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development called EBIT, and it is situated in Lomé, Republic of Togo. There are other institutions like the West Africa Health Organization that is situated in Bobo de Liso in Burkina Faso, and there is also what we call GIAVA, dealing with issues of terrorism financing and what have you, and is situated in Dakar, Senegal. Then those are the institutions. But ECOWAS has also a lot of agencies that are in charge of so many issues, such as the Gender Center in Dakar, the Youth Center in Ouagadougou, and we have the Project Planning and Development Unit in Lomé, and the Animals and Husbandry Center in Bamako, and so many other centers and agencies scattered all over West Africa. Like we have the ECRI, which is the ECOWAS regional center they are dealing with power. We have the West Africa Power Pool in Cotonou. We have another regional center that deals with renewable energy based in Praia, Cape Verde. So we have so many numerous agencies located in various capitals of West Africa.
That's a whole lot, and you are Nigeria's permanent representative to ECOWAS, to the mission. Now, what does that entail?
Okay, each member country, we have 15 member countries. Initially, ECOWAS have 16 member countries, but Mauritania moved to join the Arab Maghreb Union based in Morocco, so that was why they are no more members of ECOWAS. That was back in 2002. So we have 15 member countries of ECOWAS, and each member state is supposed to have ambassador permanent representative representing that country. And a supplementary act was signed by the head of state by 2010, which make it compulsory that all member countries must comply to that provision, that is establish a mission in Abuja to be dealing with ECOWAS. And that was why Nigeria set up the permanent mission of Nigeria to the ECOWAS, so that we will have an ambassador and permanent representative that is representing Nigeria in ECOWAS, just like any other country. The other countries, what they do is, because almost all the West African member countries, they have their embassies in Nigeria, that they are covering bilateral relations with Nigeria. So what they did was they made their ambassadors to be their permanent representatives in ECOWAS. But for us in Nigeria, since we don't have such privilege, so initially we were covering ECOWAS from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But one day the state took that decision, and that was why Cape Verde, that also doesn't have embassy in Nigeria, they have to establish an embassy here in Nigeria with an ambassador accredited to Nigeria and also accredited to ECOWAS. And that was why Nigeria too has to create the permanent mission of Nigeria to ECOWAS, so that they will have a permanent representative of Nigeria to the ECOWAS. And Nigeria has only 4 permanent representatives, because Nigeria has 4 permanent missions. 1 in New York, 1 in Geneva, and 1 in Addis Ababa, covering the African Union. So the 4th one is the permanent mission of Nigeria to the ECOWAS established in Abuja. It's a diplomatic mission, a Nigerian diplomatic mission, but based in Nigeria. It's a unique situation.
Very unique, very unique. So how does this aid the work of diplomatic relations? Because you're based here in Nigeria, so how do you now reach out to the other countries?
No, the work is very well structured. As I said, there was a supplementary act which was signed by the head of state in 2010. That supplementary act clearly gave guideline on how the offices of the permanent representative should be run. The permanent representatives are the ones that are directly interfacing with the ECOWAS Commission and other community institutions. So they are the window between the member states and the organization. And it clearly defines our role. For instance, reviewing the activities of the organization. Every month, the ambassadors used to meet, and there we discuss the whole programs that ECOWAS is carrying out within that period. So, like for instance, at the moment, since Nigeria is chairing ECOWAS, I'm the chair of Permanent Representative Committee of the ECOWAS, and every month we do chair our regular meetings, which we look at the activity at that prevailing period. We review them. If there are advices that used to come from the member state directly, we give such inputs. So we monitor the activities, we report to our governments. If ministers are going to meet, we have to review those meetings, set up their agenda for them. The communications going to our countries have to pass through us. In order to pass those communications, when decisions are taken, we are the one to draw the attentions of our governments to ensure that we are complying with such decisions and making sure that our member countries are implementing such decisions. So it's really a lot of work, but as I said, it is well structured. So we are being guided by the diplomatic practice that is already enshrined.
Okay, so ECOWAS has some protocols, and recently with the African Union, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and all that. Where is ECOWAS and Nigeria on this?
Well, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, after, is part of the recent development that we witness in Africa, where we want to have a one common market and one African common market. But it will interest you to note that ECOWAS have what we call ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ETLS, which has been existing since 1970s.
1970s?
Yes, and it's just a replica of it that now the whole continent is copying. But ECOWAS already has what it calls the ETLS, ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, which is even more deeper than the after. What does that mean? It means that all products that are produced in West Africa are free to be sold, to be traded in all West African states without payment of any levy, duty, or any tax. Once, for instance, a company will come to ECOWAS and register that product. If it is produced, let's say here in Abuja, it can be sold and traded in any of the West African 15 member countries without attracting any tax, as if it is produced in that country. And this has been existing since 1970s, up to this moment. So we already have it already in ECOWAS. So what we are doing now, ECOWAS is negotiating with AU as a group, because already the ECOWAS have a department that is in charge of commerce, in charge of industry. So we don't need to be negotiating even as individuals. ECOWAS is negotiating with other member countries, with the AU as a bloc when it comes to our keying into the African Continental Free Trade Area. Because we already have our ETLS scheme for over 45 years now. Yes.
So how is the negotiation going?
Very smooth. So far, so good. And so far, not only the West African countries not only signed the agreement, but 13 have already ratified it. 13 of West African member states have already ratified the AFTA agreement.
Yeah, that's a good one. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on that, Your Excellency. So you did say ECOWAS, yes, we know, made up of 15 countries, but we have 3 that have decided that they are no longer part of ECOWAS. But what is ECOWAS doing to bring them back?
Well, if you are following the summits of the head of state have already gave directive, and they have been they took this directive, I think, in their extraordinary summit that they had, around February, and then they reiterated that in the last July summit that the ECOWAS Commission should be open to engage these member countries, and also urge all member states also to do so bilaterally, engaging the countries that have shown that gave notice to exit the organization. Beyond that, also the head of state called on the international community, the African Union, UN, to also play their bit in ensuring that we keep West Africa as one entity. So those engagements are going on bilaterally. So many member states are reaching out to those our brothers and sisters on see how to keep them into the ECOWAS fold. One thing which we need to understand is regional integration is not about states. Regional integration is about the people.
Explain.
Yes. It's simple. Just when you look at, just take your international passport, for instance. You will not, if you take your international passport now, when you look at it, you will not see map of Nigeria. It is the map of West Africa.
Yes.
So we, in ECOWAS, we saw all the citizens of Africa, all the citizens of West Africa. We call them community citizens. We see our West Africa region as one block, one people, and that is why the slogan of ECOWAS is we have moved from ECOWAS of state to what we call ECOWAS of the people. We regard all West African nationals as community citizens. So whatever ECOWAS is doing is not for the governments, it's for the citizens. Because, you know, if you recall, before the creation of the modern state, we were borderless, then we see ourselves as one community. Still now, if you go to the border communities, you will discover that the people living in those areas are the same people living in one side of the border and the other. You will find that still, where people that have two wives, one wife is at the other side of the border and the other is across, or one has a house at one side of the border, he has his farm across. That is why we are doing so many programs on what we call cross-border programs, because those are people which you can't separate. There is no, we are one people. So if you look at the ECOWAS programs, most of our activities are centered toward the people. So if some group of countries are saying that they are going to exit, which means they are going to deny their citizens those benefits which ECOWAS are carrying out. For instance, in West Africa, you don't need any visa to travel to any West African country. If you go to Kano now, or you go to Badagry, you will see vehicles traveling to the other side of the region. In Kano, from the motor park, you will see a commercial vehicle going to Maradi, taking passengers that are going to Maradi every day. Maybe about 30 vehicles will leave Kano to go to Niger. They don't need any visa. They want to pass through the immigration. Those vehicles are registered at the border. They pass because we have free movement in ECOWAS. Now, if those countries exited, are we saying that somebody that every day must come to Nigeria to buy some essential goods must take a visa to come? Those are things which we have to look at deeply, and that is why the head of state, in their wisdom, they are saying we have to continue engaging these countries for us to understand. Yes, ECOWAS is not about the state. ECOWAS is about the people, because our people are one. So it's very important. When you look at as I mentioned, the cross-border programs, they are carried out in order to make sure that the people living along those border communities are being kept as one, to keep their identity, despite that, yes, you will find that, yes, somebody across the border, let's say in Badagry area, one can be categorized as a Beninua, and this one is in Nigeria, but still we are doing some common projects that will serve the people so that to make sure that they are taking the advantages of the regional integration. So those are very important programs. If you go to, I don't know, for maybe it's long you have not passed the Seme-Krake border. If you go there, you will see what ECOWAS did. ECOWAS modernized that border to be one of the best borders you can see in Africa, and one of the, just like the standard borders you see in the developed world. If you go to Seme border, that is how it is, how it looks at the moment. ECOWAS modernized it to give it not only building modern infrastructure, but also computerizing the system, bringing computers for the migration and all the security agencies there to modernize their work and sync it, synchronize what they are doing. You don't need to be to go to Benin side or Nigerian side. In one place, you take all the documentation that you need. And then they put scanners for goods. So if goods are passing, they don't need to be checking those goods manually. There is a modern scanner that a whole truck will just pass through. So all those are things which are to ensure that our people are benefiting and enhance economic activities within the region.
So how can ECOWAS Parliament help to ensure that this whole process of integration is sustained?
The ECOWAS Parliament is an important arm or organ of ECOWAS that is saddled with responsibility on enhancing and facilitating regional integration. And that was why they were set up. You know, if you look at it, there are some of the newest institutions in ECOWAS, because the ECOWAS Parliament it came around 2002 2003, unlike the ECOWAS Commission that has been existing since 1975. And the reason is, since the parliamentarians are the representatives of the people, they are more closer to the people, they deal with the people, and that is why they said, okay, let's also not only have a commission that is more of a replica of the executive, because the commissioners there are just like our ministers. But when you have a parliament, and they are drawn from our national parliaments, they are directly representing the people, they are more closer to the people. So when you bring them in to also come to the level of community, whereby they will discuss regional integration issues, go back home, make sure that the member states are not only domesticating but also implementing these regional integration programs, and also talking directly to the citizens. So the ECOWAS Parliament, we see it as an important component of regional integration, and most of the members, they have been very diligent, very dedicated, carrying out this work, and we are proud of what they are doing.
Okay, so recently ECOWAS had humanitarian aid donated to Nigeria. Now, after this aid, what are the next steps?
ECOWAS had been doing humanitarian and social interventions for a very long time. Okay. And I think maybe you are referring to the one that was done in Kano when yes, 7,000 metric tons of grains were donated to Nigeria by ECOWAS. But ECOWAS have been doing that regularly. I remember about 3 or 4 years back, we were in the same Kano, and ECOWAS handed over the same some quantity of grains to Nigeria some times back. They do it regularly. Just last week also, I know the ECOWAS humanitarian department was in Adamawa, in Yola, to launch a stabilization fund. That is it's an intervention to ask the victim of flood. You know, during the rainy season, we usually have some state in Nigeria that were being devastated by the flood. So ECOWAS gave $1 million donation for victims of flood just last week. And they have so many of these kind of interventions. I recall also now we are talking with the Ministry of Maritime Affairs, which is saddled with the responsibility of implementing that in Nigeria, because that is their own statutory responsibility. ECOWAS will just provide such fund. They don't implement it directly. We give it to the relevant government agency in Nigeria. In this case, the Ministry of Maritime Affairs. There is $1 million now we are discussing with them for victims of terrorism in the northeastern Nigeria and the banditry in the northwestern Nigeria. So ECOWAS is doing a lot of these interventions, not only in Nigeria, but in the whole West African countries.
So thank you so much, Your Excellency, for coming on the program Global Parliament. And we have learned so much about ECOWAS and its work and the work of permanent mission. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me too.
So the program Global Parliament continues shortly. And that conversation continues on the platforms on the screen. For now, if you want to understand parliamentary jargons, you want to know what parliamentarians mean when they conduct business in the chamber, this next segment is for you. So do send in your comments and observations on the platforms on the screen, and remember to keep a date with us next week. On behalf of the production crew, I am Vivian Idekwefo. Many thanks for your time.